To our ranking member, and I now recognize Chairwoman Foxx for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank our witnesses for being here today. Dr. Holtz-Eakin, there's a fentanyl epidemic in our country. In 2022 alone, the Drug Enforcement Administration seized enough fentanyl to kill almost 400 people. For working-age Americans, fentanyl overdose is the leading cause of death. Fentanyl has not only had a devastating impact on our society, but also on our workforce. In your written testimony, you said that between 2013 and 2021, opioid use accounted for the loss of more than 1.3 million workers. Could you discuss the impact that synthetic opioids like fentanyl have had on working-age Americans and the American workforce as a whole? But keep in mind, I only have 5 minutes.
I will be brief. Since 2013, we've seen overdoses go up by about 200%. And this is the leading cause of death, as you mentioned, for some prime age workers. And it has contributed to the labor force participation rate going down, particularly through the pandemic. We saw a sharp spike in the synthetic opioids, fentanyl in particular.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Law, in your written testimony, you highlighted that the Biden administration inherited a secure border. Yet in President Biden's tenure, more than 5 million illegal aliens, and that's the appropriate term to use, have been apprehended crossing the southern border, with approximately 3 million of them being released into American communities. Additionally, an estimated 2 million gotaways bypassed Border Patrol agents have made it into the country. How have the Biden administration's border and immigration policies put Americans last and fueled this catastrophe?
Well, thank you. Again, the complete lack of deterrence, the ending of the migrant protection protocols in particular, which required asylum seekers to wait in Mexico until their immigration court dates. Our immigration laws are very clear. You can either be detained or you may wait in Mexico until your immigration court date. This administration has ended that policy and allowed millions of illegal aliens into this country, and now they have undergone an unprecedented campaign to get them work permits and into the labor market. I think there's been an interesting shift in the conversation here on the other side of the aisle, conflating legal immigration with illegal immigration, and what we're talking about today is the fact that every illegal alien who's in this country is someone who should not be here because they're in violation of our laws, and they should not be in the workforce, and that is a potential job that an American worker could have.
Thank you very much. Dr. Camerata, in your written testimony, you noted that the labor force participation rate of working-age Americans has reached historic lows, and that this rate tended to decline the most among the least educated. Without work, these individuals tend to have higher rates of substance abuse, welfare dependency, crime, and even early death. Can you discuss how the influx of illegal aliens across the southern border has made this pressing societal issue easier to ignore?
Right. So we need workers, right? We know the unemployment rate is low, and we're talking about the bottom end of the labor market here. Let's not discuss immigration generally. We're talking about illegal immigration. And employers want workers, right? But what we keep hearing is they keep saying to congressmen and their elected leaders, give us more immigrants, and not, hey, we need to get a lot more of these folks who used to be in the labor market back into the labor force. And what immigration does is it shifts the debate. Instead of trying to improve the lives of all these people on the economic sidelines, which is not necessarily easy all the time. It takes a lot of effort. Partnership, state and local, federal and public-private. It's a big issue, but we're not doing it because we have access to so much immigrant labor, and the illegal immigration just adds to that. And so I doubt that we'll ever deal with it unless we actually enforce our laws and then force the business community and to address this problem. And as you say, it's clearly a problem. We know it's linked to all these social pathologies that you mentioned.
Thank you. I will say again what Republicans have said over and over and over again. We cannot talk about a, quote, comprehensive, end quote, immigration policy and overall until the border is shut down. That is the key to everything that we need to be doing. We need to close the border and make sure that that's done before we do anything else. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.